Here's your shot at winning $1,000. Text the national keyword collect right now to 95819. That's COLLECT to 95819. We'll text you back to confirm your entry. Data and messaging rates may apply. Please don't text and drive. It's $5K a day on WMAL. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:07, O'Connor and Company. Thanks for joining us. It's Larry O'Connor with Cassie Smedley this morning of the Coin Credit Card Empire. Good morning, Cassie. Good to have you.
A budding empire that it is. Good morning,
Yes.
Larry.
8:05 is going to be the time we talk to KT McFarland, and there's plenty to talk to her about. Zelensky coming to town. Volodymyr Zelensky's coming to town. No, it doesn't work. Sorry. Never mind. And also, of course, the tenuous peace deal and ceasefire in Israel. We'll get to all of that with KT McFarland. But first, of course, our sights are set on the upcoming election in Virginia, making national news. Let's remember for a moment the latest big scandal here that Democrats are embracing. They're owning it. They refuse to disavow Jay Jones, their running mate, their candidate on the ticket for Attorney General.
We start with breaking news from the campaign trail.
Jay Jones is under fire tonight.
Jay Jones is under fire.
Jay Jones is under fire after messages he sent in 2022 saying former Virginia House Speaker Todd Gilbert should be shot.
Yeah, should be shot. And in addition to that, police officers should lose their lives because then maybe they would change their political policies or his political opponents would change their political policies. Maybe Todd Gilbert's children need to be murdered so that he will change his political policies. This isn't just vile text message stuff, but it's taken from a political perspective to try to win a political argument, utilizing violence, fantasizing about utilizing violence to win a political argument. And I want to repeat, every single Democrat from Abigail Spanberger all the way down to the lowest, smallest district in Virginia, not one of them has removed their endorsement for Jay Jones. Paul Kamenar is the counsel for the National Legal and Policy Center, NLPC to those in the know, and he joins us now to discuss this. Paul, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Well, unlike Abigail Spanberger and every elected Democrat in this country, your organization is taking this quite seriously. What are you looking to do about this with regard to Jay Jones outside of the political realm?
Yes, absolutely. The National Legal Policy Center, we filed a bar complaint against Jay Jones. He's a member of the Virginia Bar, and we called for his disbarment or at least a suspension of his bar license for the violent text messages that he sent to a colleague about killing Todd Gilbert, 2 bullets to the head instead of killing Adolf Hitler and Pol Pot.
Yeah.
He'd rather kill Todd Gilbert. That's incredible. And he doubled down again and again, and the delegate was very disturbed who was getting these texts, called him up and said, hey, what's going on? And he doubled down. He kept at it. Now, what she did was send these text messages forwarded to Todd Gilbert, the Speaker of the House of Delegates, to warn him, like, hey, you may be in danger of your family.
Yeah, watch your back with this Jay Jones guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is totally improper conduct for a member of the bar. Plus, it may be illegal.
Let me ask you, Mr. Kamenar, people will look at this and say, okay, yeah, it's bad stuff, but he did this privately in his private capacity. It doesn't affect, he didn't say this in open court. He didn't say it to a client or what have you. How does this affect his conduct and his standing with the state bar?
Yeah, no, that the state bar rules also require this kind of, bars this kind of conduct for your private businesses and so forth. So even if he didn't say this in a court of law, it's one that shows disrespect to the administration of justice as a whole. He wasn't saying this about, say, a neighbor of his who was a nuisance neighbor and said, I wish this guy was shot, etc. It was the Speaker of the House of Delegates, which makes our laws. This is part of our judicial system that attorneys are supposed to respect. So this is beyond the pale, and the Virginia bar has to take action against him. And if they do, he's not entitled to be Attorney General because you have to have a bar license to be the Attorney General.
Yeah, I have one other point that you've pointed out in addition to that, but lest we forget that he has this reckless driving offense.
Yes.
Of which he was sentenced to 1,000 hours of community service. I think he only completed half of it, or half of it that was completed was working for his own campaign. Is that right? And others who got a comparable reckless driving charge at the same county, they were sentenced to jail time and had suspended license. And so is there any part of that? Because the private text messages, that is a scandal in and of itself. That's unbecoming. Right. That's something that we should know as voters. But from a rules for me, but not for these standpoint, is that part of the case too?
Absolutely. That's the second part of our complaint, and that's a very good point because there he is interacting with our judicial system and with the courts. And under Virginia law and practice, if you have community service, it has to be to an organization that's a charity, like a food kitchen, et cetera, and one that you're not affiliated with. Here he was having 500 hours, he said he gave to his political action committee and 500 hours to the Virginia chapter of the NAACP, both of which he is closely affiliated with, and he actually represented the Virginia chapter of the NAACP. So he was going 116 miles an hour in a 70-mile-per-hour zone. I guess he thought I-64 was a German Autobahn for some reason.
If only.
You're right.
That would be awesome, by the way. Great idea, and Virginia would absolutely attract a lot of people, a lot of new residents. Mr. Kamenar, there is a precedent for this. I mean, I'm old enough to remember people like John Eastman, a constitutional law professor and scholar, and I believe has argued before the Supreme Court, who was disbarred by multiple jurisdictions, and his crime was giving advice to his client. The problem is his client was Donald Trump. But there have been moves to remove people from the bar in various states.
Yes.
Due to offenses that have nothing to do with anything coming close to what Jay Jones has done.
That's exactly right, and I know John Eastman and he is being disbarred. And the other lawyer is Jeff Clark. Right now, as we're speaking, the D.C. bar is disbarring him because of advice he gave in a letter to the Justice Department about the election in 2020, and that that letter never left the Department of Justice's office. It never was sent, and still they said, you're not fit to practice law. So you're right. So they go after lawyers who express confidential information to their client, not violent rhetoric like Jay Jones. So there has to be strict disciplinary action taken against him.
Real quickly, Mr. Kamenar, and we're speaking with Paul Kamenar of NLPC, that's the National Legal and Policy Center, moving to disbar Jay Jones. Is this an expedited process? Is there any chance that voters in Virginia will know whether they'll actually have an attorney general who can practice law and hold that position before Election Day?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think so. These bar authorities are pretty slow in acting on complaints. They have to have it reviewed by their committees and then passed up to the chain and so forth. So our experience is that this takes a long time. Plus, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of gloss over this. We filed a similar complaint against Senator Chuck Schumer for his violent rhetoric outside the Supreme Court several years ago, you may recall. And the New York bar, of course, very liberal, said, that's First Amendment speech, et cetera. Let the Senate Ethics Committee deal with it. And, of course, the Senate Ethics Committee did nothing. So these bar associations, depending upon the political views, have different ways of handling these kind of complaints.
Amazing. Well, listen, hopefully this will get the attention it deserves so we don't reach that point and the voters will be able to take care of this. Paul Kamenar, thank you so much for joining us, National Legal and Policy Center. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
It is 7:15.